I thought I'd go over a little bit about how I'm going to set up my loom. We're going to be weaving over that dowel on the ceiling. We're going to get this all set up here. So this is how I can weave a lot at once. This would be considered a warp-weighted loom style, because I'm going to put the warp up and I'm going to hang weights on it. Get that centered there. And I'm going to get my warp up and over the dowel in the ceiling. This is the messy part of getting ready to weave, because I took it off of the loom in the house. I'm trying to transfer it here. And it's all chained up, so I'm going to unchain that. And I'm going to grab my stool. So this is just your normal curtain dowel. It's held on the same way your curtain rods are in your closet probably, or similar at least. And I hang that completely upside down. Let's flip this around. I need to line it up here. Half the time of weaving is spent setting up. Seems like that's whatever you're doing, whether you're weaving on a big floor loom or tablet weaving, it's all set up. And then the rest of it goes really fast. At least in my experience. I'm sure that's not everybody's experience. Okay, let's try this again. We'll probably have to futz around with that a little bit after I get everything else set up here. I am going to make a knot that I'm sure has a name that I don't know, where I just make it so I can put it around my C-clamp here. If you can see that C-clamp. I'm not sure you can see that C-clamp. You can. Yay! Okay, now normally I would put a 5-pound weight on this. I don't have a 5-pound weight, but I have 2 3-pound weights. So we're going to stretch this up, make sure that all my threads are lined up. Looks like I have a loose one here. See if I can get that one stretched out. Yep, just like that. I'm going to hang the weight about down here. This will give me a good yard before I'll have to move my weights. And the other one is just going to hang below it. Doesn't have to be quite as neat and tidy, because the first one is, like I said, normally 5-pound, but in this case, 2 3s. Now, I'm going to go back up top, and I'm going to separate this a little bit so that it lays nice and flat up there. And in the right order. Like so. If I found that this wasn't enough weight, I could always put more weight on it. So this is a band from Birka, Sweden, that would have been done in gold brocade, but since it has been adapted to a threaded in pattern, which means that the cards are threaded in such a way that when I turn them, it creates the pattern. It's called a threaded in pattern instead of a brocade pattern. So this is silk in blue and silver. And the color that it's going to go on, because I already have a project in mind for it, the color that is going to go on is this color. Out of there. I did not bring the pattern out with me, so hopefully I remember it. 2, and 1. So both packs go forward. All go forward twice. Looks like I have a little bit of a loose card there. And then you switch, and the back pack goes backwards and the front pack goes forwards. So this is called like a 2-pack weave. So I never have to change my pack. I just have to change which way they're going. I may have to tighten that one card there because he wants to be loose. He might tighten up all by himself. So that was one full set of patterns. All cards go forward twice, and then the front cards go forward and the back cards go back twice again. So everybody forward. He is just insistent on falling down. I'm gonna have to fix him. And then front and back. I don't always have to put the shuttle down every time. This is called a shuttle. This shuttle is made out of bone. I can do it without putting the shuttle down. It does speed it up a lot. That card's kind of fouling me up for that. So you might see me sliding the cards down and then up. That's so that when the shed's not really open back here, you can see it's kind of tangled. When I slide it back forward, it opens the shed. This is called the shed, where you put the shuttle through. And these words are, you can switch these words back and forth for both kinds of looms, both the horizontal floor loom and tablet weaving. Any weaving structure is going to have a shed, which is the opening where you put the weft through. So that's not going to change no matter what kind of weaving you're doing. If you don't know what Drifasleep is a online marketplace for handmade, created by artists, for artists, to sell their handmade wares with fair fees, and it's built with the artist in mind rather than being built with corporations in mind. So if you like to sell handmade, if you like to buy handmade, go check it out. This is called tablet weaving. It is an ancient form of weaving all the way back to Roman times. This pattern is from the 10th century in Sweden. And what happens is when I turn the cards, that changes the colors on the pattern. I can show you a card in just a second. So my outside cards are all blue, so that I have an all blue border. And then my inside cards, I have 3 silvers and 1 blue. And so when I turn this card right here forward, that blue goes over the top. And so that's what color is going to be on top. If I was going to turn it backwards, then the silver would be what shows. So down here, whenever I turn a blue over the top, it shows blue. Whenever I turn a silver over the top, it shows silver. And this pattern is pretty easy and simple, so I won't mess it up. So everything goes forward twice. So there's once and twice. And then the front goes forward and the back goes backwards twice. So fairly easy pattern. You can get really complicated where every card changes every turn. Like on some patterns, I would switch these all around every time I turn them. That takes a lot of concentration. A lot of Viking Age clothing is found with weaving on it in different places. A lot of the gold brocade, which I don't have any in here that I could show you, I don't think. Oh, I might have my very first piece here. And it might actually be this pattern that I'm doing. So we'll see if we can get this here. So this is my very first brocaded tablet weaving, and you can see that it's got silver going across it. So it's silk and silver, and where the silver goes across is where the pattern is supposed to show up. Now, like I said, this is my very, very first band, so I don't know how well you can see that, but they were woven with silver and with gold both. Sometimes the same band had both silver and gold in them, but that is how your pattern shows up. So part of one of the patterns was this, I guess you'd call it basket weave. That's a good way to describe it. And so that it has been adapted to be a threaded in pattern. So I'm not weaving with gold or silver today. I'm just weaving that one small section that was in that band, just with silk. Normally I just use simple playing cards that they take it to a drill press so the holes are all perfectly aligned and matched where they're supposed to be, and they're like 10 cents a piece, and I buy them by the hundreds. I can write on them, I can mark them up however I want. They last for a really long time. Now this one is unique. You can see that I am actually starting to wear the holes out on this card. It'll probably go for a couple more weaves, but the silk is really hard on it. Linen is even harder on it. Wool is pretty abrasive too. I guess everything I weave with is pretty harsh. And so you wear your holes out, but they'll last for a long time. In Viking times, they would have been made of wood. Here's a stack made of wood. They would have been made of tortoise shell, or hardened fish scales, or leather. So lots of different materials were made into cards for card weaving, tablet weaving. The card ones are a standard playing. I've had these probably since the mid 2000s, 2005, 2006. And even some of them, I can show you in just a second when I'm done with this pattern rotation. Even some of these are wearing out. And these are just full on plastic, but you can see my front one here. Try not to get it all tangled because that's bad. But you can see that it is even changing the shape into a teardrop, and I won't be able to use that one for very much longer either. So Birka, Sweden, is an island where they had a trading center in Viking times. So that is where this pattern is from, and that is where a lot of our grave finds come from, is this island. And being that it was a trading center, we can't be sure that everything that was found there was from there. It could have been brought in from other places. There was a lot of silk found there from the Silk Road. And they found a lot of silk used in a lot of their clothing. This trim, I believe, is called Birka 22. It was a silver trim, and it was found on a garment. I could not tell you what that garment is without pulling out a book. And I can imagine that me pulling out a book right now would be pretty boring for all of you. But it is from Birka, Sweden. And I am weaving on a warp weighted setup, so you can see the weights hanging back there. They are weighting my whole thing down, and it goes over a closet rod near the ceiling. So I can weave quite a ways before I have to worry about moving anything. And right now I'm going to advance this because it's pretty high up here. So I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to re-loop it around my C-clamp, which I know you guys cannot see the C-clamp from that angle, and now I can just keep weaving. The weights have gone up 6 inches, and I can keep weaving for another, looks like about 1.5 yards before I have to move the weights. I can turn them with one hand. It's not as convenient. I sometimes just prefer to set the shuttle down. The shuttle in my hand is made of bone. They would have been made of bone or antler or leather or wood. I have a lot of wood ones. So every card has 3 silvers and a blue in it, except for the outside ones, which are all blue because they're the border cards. But so here's a card. It's got 3 silvers and a blue. So when I turn it, it changes which color is in the top. And this is called a shed. And when I put my weft, which is the silk that's on here, through the shed, I lock it all down. I lock that turn down. So now I'm going to change the turn. Different colors are going to go over the top, and I'm going to then lock the pattern with the weft, and that's what keeps the pattern down here. Basic weave structure is the same, whether you're tablet weaving or weaving on a warp weighted loom or weaving on a horizontal loom or a modern loom. They're all basically the same. You still have weft, you still have warp, and you still have a shed. The mechanics of what you're using to change the colors changes. With my horizontal looms, like this guy here, the white cords are like the holes in these cards. So when you have a blue going through one and a silver going through one and you change them and you lift a different one, that changes your color. Well, that's the same thing here, only instead of being in a heddle on a floor loom, your colors are in the holes in the card, basically. I learned this in 2005. I had a woman who was willing to teach me. We started with something called inkle weaving, which is a whole nother type of weaving, but you couldn't do as complicated of patterns. So I quickly changed from inkle weaving to card weaving, and I can find you some inkle weaving here. Just so happens. So my entire wardrobe is out here in my looming bin for just this purpose, right? So here is, I think, my very, very first weaving, and this is inkle woven. So not as complicated pattern, just 2 up, 2 down, no diagonals, nothing like that, just straight on square patterns. And that was my very first one. And that is still on my husband's clothing, and he refuses to let me take it off and put something more accurate on it. This is one of the most complicated things I've ever done. So this is called Snartamo. Snartamo, Norway. 5th century, I believe. Somebody can correct me if they know that better. But so this is about as complicated as it gets. And this takes about 2 hours an inch. Very, very complex. So for those of you that don't know, we are in a medieval society called the SCA, Society for Creative Anachronism, and we do medieval reenactment anytime prior to the 16th century. I tend to do 10th century Norse or Viking. Viking is actually a verb. They went to Viking, they weren't Vikings, but that's an argument for a different day. So I do 10th century Scandinavia, and this pattern is from Birka, Sweden. My tablets are made out of plastic. I also have tablets made out of playing cards and tablets made out of wood in period times, so in the 10th century and before that, they would have been made out of wood or leather or tortoise shell or even hardened fish scale. Antler, there's some antler ones, bone. So another thing that happens with card weaving is, so the front pack's been going forward the whole time. It never goes backwards, it only goes forward, which means that those 4 threads are twisting up. You can see that they're twisting up and they're twisting with the next card, but this doesn't really open very far anymore. And the more it twists up, the more it doesn't want to open. Like, I can show you this one right here. They kind of open when I do that though. The way you fix this is you can either undo the twist and go all the way to the end of your band and untwist it the whole way, or you can do a reversal, which is what they would have done in Viking times. So I'm going to do a reversal here. So all of my front cards are going to come to the back. And I'm just going to switch which way everything was going. So now instead of all the cards going forward, all the cards are going to go back. So my main pack is in the back now. And so we're going to be unwinding all of this continuous twist. So and I will show you exactly what this does to the pattern in just a second. You would be hard pressed to find this change in the middle of this 7-yard warp. So let me finish this section and then I'm going to show you what it looks like where it changed. Focus. Okay, so going along, basket weave, basket weave, basket weave. Here's my change right here. So basically, instead of a basket weave, it just went up and kind of in a V. And I'm sorry, this isn't focusing very well because it's trying to focus on my finger, but the change is right here and you can really hardly see it. Yeah, if you look real hard, you can tell that there's a change, but you'd have to look pretty hard. Everything I weave is in natural fibers, so silk, wool, linen. This shuttle is made of bone. They are my favorite. They are smooth like butter and I love them, but shuttles would have been made of leather or wood or bone. I'm almost getting too high for the camera. I'm actually far enough along that I'm gonna readjust here momentarily. So I will show you my whole setup here. This is a warp weighted setup. So the tension is being held by my hand weights back there, and it goes over a curtain rod in the ceiling. So that's how it holds the tension. And then down here, it is hooked to this C-clamp. So I'm gonna pull this down now. And so I'm not reaching so far. I'm gonna hold this with my thumb. I know I'm kind of blocking your view there. And I'm going to tighten this, change the knot on the C-clamp. And then I let it go. It pulls the tension back up. And we are ready to go. So this pattern is called Running Dog. And this is actually a 19th century Anatolian pattern, and you can see here, I was talking about the reversal earlier, you can definitely see the reversal here, but it definitely just looks like it's part of the pattern and it just looks really cool. So this is basically when it reversed the pattern. So if this was going forward and all the twist was getting more and more twisted, then this would be going backwards. Probably have a lot more inside, but it goes on clothing, it goes on necklines and wrists mostly, because that is where they would not have worn it out. They wouldn't have put it around the hems of gowns because you would drag that gown on the ground and you would wear it out, basically. I do commissions. Some of it will be for sale on Drifasleep. My shop is called the Loomy Bin. And I don't think there's any trim on there right now because I went to an event last weekend and sold all of it. So this will be the first trim to go back on the platform. I am about done with this one for the night. I hope you guys all have a great night.